So here are some ideas about what you could include in your answer. But remember, this is just brainstorming. Your answer will be based on personal experience. So first, you would need to identify the teacher. Not necessarily by his or her name, but by giving enough relevant information so that someone listening to your responses could make sense of your explanation. For example, what subject did the teacher teach? How old were you when you had him or her as a teacher? Then you could proceed to what the teacher did to make you admire he or she. Perhaps it was something specific. If so, you should describe what the teacher did and provide details to illustrate why the action was admirable to you. Maybe the teacher displayed a special personal quality or had a special character trait. If so, you would want to describe it and give details that provide evidence of it. Occasions when you noticed it, or maybe the effect it had on you, and so forth. In the second independent question, you will be presented with two possible actions, situations, or opinions. And again, you will have 45 seconds to give your response. This question will ask you to state what your choice or preference or opinion is. And of course, you will have to explain why with reasons, explanations, details, and examples. It's important for you to respond to all parts of the questions and that you are clear about what your opinion is and that you give details to communicate why you have made the choice that you did. It does not matter which of the actions, situations, or opinions you choose. And just as it is with question 1, there is no right or wrong answer. Your response will be rated not on which of the alternatives you chose, but rather how well you can explain your choice by supporting it with the reasons and the details. Topics for the second independent question are of general interest to students. You may be asked, for example, whether you think it's better to study at home or in the library, or whether you think students should take a wide variety of classes or just do a single focus, or whether first-year students should live in a dorm or should they be allowed to live off campus. You could also be presented with two opposing opinions about a familiar topic. For example, whether television is a benefit or has not benefited our humanity. And then you would be asked which of the opinions that you agree with. Let's take a look at an example. So just like the previous question, you will have two clocks that appear on the screen, the preparation and the response clock. So question 2 says, some students study for classes individually, others study in groups. Which method of studying do you think is better for students and why? So, first things first. Remember, again, this is only a guide for you. Your responses can be completely different and you can still get a high score. This is just for brainstorming. You should clearly state your opinion at the beginning. The reasons you choose a specific side will vary, but for example, if the position you take is that it's better for students to study alone, you might want to say that when students meet to study in groups, they often waste time discussing matters that have nothing to do with their classwork. You might continue with this explanation by contrasting the inefficiency of studying in a group with the kind of productivity a student can achieve when studying alone. If you have personal experiences that help you illustrate your point, you might want to include them in the explanation. Make sure that you clearly show how they illustrate your point. Perhaps you want to take the other side, that it's better for students to study in groups. In that case, it would explain the advantages of group study and the disadvantages of studying alone. Perhaps you think that the more capable students can help the less capable students when they study together. Or perhaps you have found that students who study in groups often share each other's lecture notes, and this way they can make sure that everyone understands the material that has been covered in a course. There are many good reasons for either choice. In fact, it may be your opinion that in some cases it's better to study in groups, and in other cases it's better to study alone. If that's the opinion you would like to express, you should explain with reasons, details, and specific examples why group study is better in some cases and why individual study is better in others. Here again, there is no right or wrong answer to a question like this. The important thing is to clearly communicate to the person who will be listening your response of what your opinion is and the reasons that you have it. One tip for practicing could be making a recommendation and explaining why it is your preferred course of action. The third question is integrated with reading, listening, and speaking. And topics for this question will vary. Could be about university policy, rules, or procedures, campus facilities, quality of life on campus. There are many options, but they are designed to be accessible for all test takers. You don't need to have previous experience or prior knowledge about college or university life in North America. The passages are 75 to 100 words long and come also in many forms. It could be a bulletin from the administrator of a university regarding a new parking rule, or a letter to the editor of a campus newspaper responding to a new university policy restricting the use of radios in dorm rooms, or it could be an article to the campus newspaper discussing a proposal to build a new football stadium. As you can see, there are a lot of options. But in addition to describing the proposal, the reading passage will usually present two reasons either for or against the proposal. The reading is brief. You will have enough time to read it. In the dialogue that will be played after you do the reading, you will hear two students discussing the same article or letter or announcement that you've just read. One of the speakers will have a strong opinion about the proposed change, either for or against it, and will give reasons to support that opinion. The discussion is usually brief and typically lasts about 60 to 80 seconds.